Community. What is going on? It is your boy, the bearded wonder, in the flesh, coming to you live with his new spin-off, also known as Taking Notes with the Bearded Wonder, brought to you by the Black in Business podcast. And of course, the Black in Business podcast is brought to you by Tak1ng Glasses, One Empire Mobile Studio, and the Next Page LLC. So this is the Dilly of the Dillio. What I've decided to do, or actually what Drake from Brooklyn and I have decided to do, is to do a spinoff of the Black in Business podcast, which basically is your boy coming at you pretty much every week with his own little twist on what's going on in the world today. So I'm also streaming live on Facebook right now. Facebook, just a heads up. We're gonna try to get you over to the YouTube page so you can subscribe and follow the live there. It's only gonna be a sample. So I'm only gonna be on Facebook probably about 10, maybe 15 minutes. So that way you can get the full breadth of the conversation and the new format. We definitely want to ourselves on the format and expand our brand just a little bit more. So taking notes is special because I don't know if you know or if you've been following the Black in Business podcast just in general. The Black in Business podcast, of course, Drake from Brooklyn and myself are two very ordinary young gentlemen with extraordinary views. What's up, Drake from Brooklyn? Welcome to Taking Notes with the Bearded Wonder on YouTube. Also, Facebook, just a heads up. Like I said, I don't know if you were on the stream before. Um, you're only going to get about 10 minutes of my ugly mug on the Black and Business page. So go to the previous post, click the link, and you'll jump in on the live, and that way you can get in on the conversation that's going to be going on Taking Notes. So back to what I was saying. Taking Notes basically is just a spinoff of Black and Business Podcast. You guys get to hear me ramble on and on and on and on and on about current events and things that are affecting me personally. So it's more of a personal twist of what you're used to seeing with the podcast. And thank you, Jerry from Brooklyn, for subscribing to Taking Notes. Um, I need to follow his lead. So let me go ahead and get to the matters at hand. While I got Facebook for another like 8 minutes or so you guys can get interested, and I can switch you guys over, or you guys can switch over to YouTube. So Taking Notes, first episode. Um, this one is actually a double-edged sword, if you will, with everything that's going on right now with the Black Lives Matter movement, with COVID, with everything. Um, with the community or people of color or black people or minorities or however you want to look at it, there has been a term that has been coined by said community known as parenting or kyling. And what this is basically using your privilege to get your point across and or ignoring the facts so that you look more intelligent. And this is usually taken on by those that are not the minority, people of color, or black people. Shout out to all my Caucasian friends. Love y'all. So basically, just carrying it and Kyling, you're just trying to find your way into the conversation, make yourself relevant. Um, but the thing that gets me the most about that whole, I guess, epidemic or the whole thought process and ideologies that folks have um, with parenting and Kyling is that 9 times out of 10, that shit backfires. It really does. It really backfires. And the thing is like when you bring facts, like I saw a video, it's probably circulating on Facebook and on all of the social media platforms. Salute Jabril, salute Miss Dorothy. How are you? Welcome to Taking Notes with the Bearded Wonder. I'm switching over to YouTube, so you guys want to have to go ahead and hit that link that's on the previous post on the Black and Business Podcast page on Facebook. This does not apply to you, YouTube, because you're already there. But anyway, I'm talking about parenting and Kyling, and basically how it backfires. There's a video going around, viral video going around, and it's plenty of them, which is unfortunate. But there's a lot of them going around. But one in particular is a white guy. He's on the passenger side outside of a car, leaning in, talking to what would be people of color or some black folks, and basically talking about how all lives matter. Um, Now, of course, community, we know that all lives don't matter because Black lives don't matter. Until Black lives matter, all lives will matter. Is basically where I'm alluding to, and that's kind of the point that the gentleman that was refuting rather the claim of all lives matter was saying. He was like, "How can all lives matter if Black lives don't matter?" And so the guy keeps going on, and he cites a whole bunch of ancient history, if you will, about how almost on the sentiments of 45 of how we chose to be enslaved and how we chose to be oppressed and how we chose to be here in this country. Now, my problem is that we all know the history of the slave trade, regardless of color, regardless of background, education status. This is something we learned. Well, I know I learned it in second or third grade about the slave trade. I learned about this. He became my hero when I found out that he was an abolitionist and he sat in the White House and helped force basically the hand of the president, and we got the Emancipation Proclamation signed into place. Um, so what I fail to realize, or maybe it's not for me to realize or understand, is how is it that I got that lesson and he didn't, or somebody else did not. So this is one of the things that I wanted to bring up, of course, in the chat. And you're more than welcome to jump on the chat. Facebook, I got you guys for another like 2.5 minutes, and then I'm going over to YouTube exclusively. This is just a teaser on Facebook Live, just a heads up. So please click the link on the post previous to me going live here, so that way you can jump right into the discussion. But I want to know what your take is, and why we think, or why do you think that there's a sudden quote unquote disconnect with history and with stories being told and how this country was built? So that's one thing I'm not quite understanding. One thing I quite don't get is um, how do we go to the same, end up in the same grade or end up in the same schools and manage to miss a lesson, even if you weren't in class. I mean, that shit's written. It's all over the place. And to some of the to one of the comments on Facebook Live, Brill said that it also applies to Candace Owens. And if you're not familiar with who Candace Owens is, I implore you to use YouTube and look her up. Just type in Candace Owens or TI/Candace Owens, and you'll start to see her some of her rebuttals and some of her stances on just black people. Period. It's really a small, narrow scope that she has. I think a lot of it's brainwashing, may have been upbringing. Who knows at this point? Um, but I'm definitely perplexed by the whole epidemic that is Karen and Kyle. Um, because maybe I was brought up with a little more tolerance and understanding, and I learned that not everybody's the same. Not everybody comes from the same walk of life. Not everybody has the same beliefs as you, but you shouldn't blind eye deaf ear, so to speak. So I mean, community, whenever you guys are ready to jump in, come on over Facebook Live. I'll see you guys over at YouTube. YouTube, let's get it cracking. So we taking notes with the bearded wonder. All right, so I'm closing up my Facebook Live here. As you can hear, that's good to go. We're going to share that and get that out the way. Um, But yeah, one of the things that I'm still not understanding or doesn't connect with me is the whole effect, just the whole inward and outwards and ins and outs of parenting and coddling. Some relevant videos to play, at least the audio, so folks can hear some of the things that are being said and some of the things that are being uh, kind of cast in a negative light, or in a light that is not becoming of uh, a society, a functioning society, if you will. So yeah, community. What do you think? I got a few people in here on the live. Let's see who we got going. I'm going to lean in on you, Jerry. What do you think of the Kane and Colin thing, man? Like, what's your take, bro? And in case you don't know, community, of course, my other co-host, I'm in a location where this is completely legal, so I don't need nobody from the YouTube police to come busting my door. I can smoke weed. It's legal where I am, both medicinally and recreationally. So it's it. Anyway, Sheridan and Calvin. Sheridan and Calvin. What you will do, Sheridan and Calvin. Oh, oh yeah. Let me also go into more into depth about parenting. Um, I know you guys probably seen the viral video of a lady, I believe it was in California. She was caught, or video recorded rather, um, painting over the Black Lives Matter mural in the middle of the street in all black. Now she went over it in black paint, and being as smart as she was, and realizing that she was quite the Picasso, and decided to paint over Black Lives Matter in all black, actually made it stand out more. So that was one of the backfiring things. I saw it before and an after picture. Um, so yeah, that to me is the quintessential slap in the face of your insult, or lack thereof. Because at this point, the insult cannot take place if we don't find it insulting, and you actually add it to the luster and the effect of uh, everything that's going on. So for me, I find it to be quite hilarious. Number one, and number two, it actually added more emphasis to the movement itself. All right, Jerry from Brooklyn, I see you being domestic. I appreciate that. In the meantime, in between time, while I'm waiting on some comments to filter in, I'm going to kind of move on just a little bit, and then I'll circle the wagons and come back to the first topic at hand. So as we know, um, there's a worldwide pandemic going on. World was shut down for about a month and a half, 2 months, 3 months, and America has decided to move forward and open up. Um, oh, I'm not even going to move on before I read this very very good point. So my very very talented co-host says we need to find out we need to we need to we need to find out how to get rid of COVID, then discuss how we can treat people of color with the same respect as everyone else. As I'm alluding to COVID. See, this is why me and this guy work. Anyway, thank you, Dre. I appreciate you. No, you're right though. That's legit. We do need to figure that out, and actually, it could be simultaneous. I mean, they're coming up with vaccines for COVID. I wonder if they're gonna come up with vaccines for stupidity, but we'll see. Anyway, and we'll jump back on that too, Dre. We got some catching up to do anyway. Um, but as you know, it's a worldwide pandemic. The world's been shut down. effectively shutting down everything that we know: restaurants, uh, sports, sporting events, and the like. And the latter um, plays a very major part in my life and well-being. As you can see, I'm sporting the Boston Red Sox hat. I'm not just sporting it because I like the way it looks. I'm actually a Red Sox fan, die hard. In case you haven't or don't know, you do now. I am a Red Sox fan through and through. Um, Also, no self-respecting native Washingtonian can't at least, have a way with one of the local home teams, the Nationals. They have a place in my heart too, of course. Like I said before, diehard Sox fan, so I got my Sox in the building. So yeah, I mean, like sports plays a very major part in my life. Period. And the pandemic has gotten me to a point where I have, like a lot of sports lovers have done, and that is start watching streaming events. I started following a streamer who actually does 2K, NBA 2K, and he does simulated seasons. Basically, he went back as far as I think the '97 season and created a draft class. Had a draft class uploaded to him of all of the rookies in '97, and he's working his way to present. Basically, just trying to kill time. Now, the funny part about that is when I was knee high to a grasshopper, not that long, but back in PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 days, I was actually doing that too, but I wasn't streaming. So the technology for streaming wasn't available. But on occasion, I would do a computer versus computer matchup. So um, it's one of those things where um, I laughed. I was like, man, I should have been on this shit, 25 years ago. I'd be a fucking trillionaire. But then again, I wouldn't be doing this podcast and I wouldn't have met Rick Brooklyn. So kind of reason why I wasn't able to get my hands on that kind of technology that early and that young. Um, but my biggest fear is that we're doing all this opening up. The NBA has a bubble. The NHL has hub cities in a bubble. As of right now, the NFL has canceled all preseason games, but going on with the regular season as permitted. They're trying to do modifications to the helmet, so there's masks like inside the helmet. From what I heard as of July 14th, 2020, it's what I heard on a sports talk radio station as I was kind of flipping through. Um, so they're trying to make a way so that football can happen. Has a reduced season at 60 games. This will be starting in about 10 days, July 24th, 23rd, something around then. So um, the NHL is supposed to be coming back August 1st or something along that line. MLS, which is Major League Soccer, has already started. A couple of teams have already withdrawn because their players, surprise, surprise, have been tested positive for COVID. Go figure. Who would have known? Who thought? Um, but my biggest fear and what I think most sports fans are afraid to say is that there might be another shutdown. So that would effectively stop what we've started in terms of sports. A couple of Ivy League teams, actually Ivy League in general, has withdrawn all fall sports, so they're not taking place in anything. The Big Ten, as far as I know, as the time of broadcast on July 14th, 2020, are having only in-conference games. So they'll just be playing each other, so it'll be kind of regional and close by, which would be good because some of the rivalries will be brought back when the conferences realign. Certain teams moved out of certain divisions and college football season. So if you don't follow college football, you can get lost in what I'm saying. I'm not trying to get you lost. I'm just trying to keep you up to speed as much as I can. Um, so for me, uh, sports has definitely taken a back seat since COVID started. Since I haven't been able to see any live sporting events in the last 3 months. Um, they say 21 days makes or breaks a habit. Um, this is a lifelong habit. I've been watching sports as far back as I can remember, I probably started watching sports around 5. I probably started gaining great knowledge, especially about football around the age of 6 or 7. Went to my first football game, professional game at 7. Went to my first college game, which was up the street from where I am, at Howard University. So I got a chance to see a college game. Of course, not to the magnitude of like a Penn State or Oklahoma or Baylor, one of the big schools. But it was still nonetheless my first college football experience. Um, I'm now like almost. I'm ashamed to say it. I'm kind of like over it. Like I don't. I've gone through the withdrawal stage. I came to grips with it, so I'm no longer in denial with the fact that sports has been canceled. At the time, that's what it was. Basically, it was canceled. We didn't have any end date to when this stuff was going to happen or when we were going to come back, or when seasons will start, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I'm hoping we get uh, college football, but it looks like we might not. Um, who knows? I mean, honestly, I really don't know. Uh, like COVID is just it's been a monster. Let me get into some of these comments. Let me see. My host. I'm gonna get to that question in a second. So I'm gonna read that back in a second. So we have a new subscriber and new listener, Miss Curry. Thank you for subscribing and being a part of this. Appreciate you. Salute. I miss being able to socialize, just being able to go bar hopping, movies, concerts, theater, and church. COVID has taught us to rely on technology to keep our relationships current. Yeah, it's true. I mean, who would have thought that, the very thing like my mom saying, get off that damn video game would be the one thing that's keeping us connected. The fact that I can play somebody, I can play my best friend, in New Jersey from the comforts of my home just with an internet connection. And we have the same, having the same system game, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I too miss going to the movies. I'm a movie buff. I love the movies. Now they're doing on demand streaming through various applications, Hulu, Netflix, et cetera, et cetera, and on demand cable movies as well. So they're going straight from Hollywood straight to your TV now, which also opens another can of worms, which I can get into because I'm circling back to the whole COVID discussion in a second anyway. But with everything changing and all of this, practicing social distancing, I think this is going to be like the way of life. We have to get used to Zoom conferences. We're going to have to get used to streaming church from our phones, tablets, laptops. If you still got a PC, your PC. Like, I mean, this is unfortunate. Unfortunately, this is what we're gonna have to get used to. In terms of bar hopping, I've been on a few virtual happy hours. It was funny. It was fun because we played all kinds of bar games, but on Zoom. So I mean, it's one of those things where you learn to be creative. I will say that I have actually gotten in a lot more communication with like family. My granddad he's a techie. He loves technology altogether. So he has an iPhone. So we FaceTime. Phenomenal, phenomenal. This would not have been possible if I was 12 back in '92. It just that wouldn't have happened. No, dark ages basically. But to continue my rant on sports, yeah, I'm a little, of course, perplexed and uh, upset that there might be a possible stoppage. Which actually brings me to Dre from Brooklyn's question. He asked in chat if you're not here, because this will go on um, the platform and you guys can see the comments, but I'm going to read it anyway. So, what do you think the new name of the football team should be? And the very team that he's talking about, my beloved Washington football team. In case you haven't known, you don't know, and it being our news cycles are 15 to 20 seconds long, the trademark of the Washington football team. As you noticed, I have not said it, but I will use a nickname of a nickname. The Skins will no longer be able to use or won't be using the term Redskins any longer, nor will they have the logo of the Native American um, on their apparel, and thus the team name being changed. How does that make me feel? Because I am a diehard, lifelong fan of the Washington football team. I don't know what I want their new name to be, but I will say this: I implore and I hope that the owner, Daniel Snyder, does not fall prey to what is happening now to the team, which is getting the trademark and all of that stuff changed because he's individualizing one group of people. As much as I love the name the Red Tails, again, that's one group of people. You're gonna have somebody that's gonna be like, well, what about the Navy men that refused the first bomb underwater? They may have been white. Let's gonna go over that. Like, then they're gonna be asking for the team name to change again. So to answer Dre from Brooklyn's question, what do I think the new name of the football team should be? I'm gonna go with the Washington. What the fuck? I don't know. What beats me. Um, so for me, I'm in a very interesting flux, if you will. I may even have to take a year off uh, with the rebranding of the Washington football team to just sit back and actually watch the game itself and watch different things. And I may explore my fandom elsewhere because with their rebranding, doesn't that make them a new team altogether? So the dynasty that I know of as the Washington Redskins will be no longer. I'm going to get into some more comments over here. Let's see. My co-host gets back on. He goes, Curry, I agree. I miss socializing as well. It definitely changed the way we communicate with each other. But what helped us realize, for example, I'm learning how to cook because I'm not going out to eat as much, and that's very true. And her reply was, "True, you're gonna have to find another way." It feels like we're retreating to the Stone Ages, but a hybrid, aka or i.e., you're looking at the internet. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, COVID has definitely made all of us a lot more astute in different uh, aspects of life. Um, we we've come to we've become teachers, we've become mentors, we've become spokespeople, all from the comforts of our home. Um, and I can't even say comforts really because at this point, if you're still kind of in lockdown or in quarantine, like for example, my aunt, she has a compromised immune system. She can't go out in this shit at all. So she's in the house, and at this point, I talked to her yesterday very briefly. She's like, I feel like the walls are closing in on me. She's looking for a new place to live, which is ironic. The housing market has been booming since the pandemic started, which is amazing. It's another reason why I think the second wave will be stronger than the first wave because of everybody moving and these germs, this virus is allegedly airborne. So I mean, we don't know who all is practicing uh, hygiene and social distancing, and what states have opened early, what counties have opened early, who's gone back to work, et cetera, et cetera. I've worked throughout the entire pandemic. I safeguard, what I'm saying? I make sure I'm washing my hands, I'm using hand sanitizer. I wear gloves at work, so my hands are covered. I wear a mask all day. And for all you mouth breathers out there who complain about a damn mask, look, let me break something down for you. A surgeon has to wear a mask for the entire duration of surgery, right? So you could have something complex going on with your knee or with your hip or with a muscle strain or something. Sports hernia could have gone wrong and you're getting surgery done. This This said surgeon does not remove the mask for 12 hours, 18 hours, 16 hours, 24 hours, however long it takes for him to finish, or her, correcting, or her to um, doing her job, or their job. Shut up. You can wear the mask for the 30 minutes you're gonna be in the grocery store, or just don't go to the grocery store. Instacart, I free free plug. Okay, Instacart, you got free plug. Now you owe some money. I'm just saying. Yeah, exactly. Real estate is immune to the pandemic. It is, but like just watching it grow and seeing what our priorities and stuff are. Another thing that has been booming also as well during the pandemic. My favorite thing, one of my favorite things actually, and I'm going to go ahead and just show you instead of saying anything. Marijuana has definitely also been immune to the pandemic as well. There are more states that have recreational and medicinal use for marijuana have opened more dispensaries. So that industry is actually up. If you're paying attention to stock markets and know how to read the stock market, you would know that you need to invest your money in green. And I'm gonna leave that at that. You're welcome. Salute to those who want to take my advice. Yeah, because I mean, for me personally, nothing's changed. So in terms of my intake hasn't changed, hasn't increased or decreased. It's really stayed the same. So I don't have a like it doesn't feel like I'm spending more or spending less on marijuana at all. So yeah, um, enough of that. I just wanted to got to throw pot in there. Always got to throw pot in there. So yeah, community. This is the taking notes, and it's going to change every week. It's a personal twist on current events from yours truly, and I'm doing this all with brain power here. That's it. No notes. That's why it's called taking notes. The irony. Maybe you should be taking notes. I might say something poignant. It might be something that's worth repeating. May actually be something that you're not used to hearing if you watch the news all the time. Facts. I mean, that's kind of mic drop moment, but I'm not going to drop the mic. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So yeah. So just to recap, what we talked about today, or what I spoke on today, is parenting and coddling. What that is basically is your privilege and or your status in terms of racial ethnicity, if you will, whatever, and trying to prove a point like saying all lives matter, but that's not true because we all know that until Black Lives Matter, all lives do matter at that point. Um, I also brought up how the pandemic has shaped me as a sports fan and has shaken me to my core because I had fear that the stoppage coming on and I would hate to pour my fandom into my beloved teams, respective sports, um, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I would love to get to a venue. It's not gonna happen. I'm not. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not fucking walking 7 foot in anybody's venue at all. Period. I don't care if they go, the 2% capacity. No, I don't want any parts of it at all. That is just a open air petri dish. I'm good. Good. Ooh, don't want it. Much as I'm gonna miss that, like I don't even, I don't I'm not hurting anymore. Like it's like, okay, well, it is what it is. On to the next, that kind of deal. I brought that up. I also brought up the changing of the name to the Washington football team. They're no longer using the term quote unquote Redskins or using the Native American logo. So they're completely changing the trademark. They're keeping the colors from what I understand. And what my warning to that was don't group in people, period. Because that's why you're getting rid of Redskins now. Long overdue, as far as I'm concerned, in my personal opinion. So I mean, I'm going to miss the tradition that goes along with it, namely the fight song. Because we'll have to change fight song. Um, so I mean, I'm gonna miss some of the tradition, but not gonna miss what that actually stood for. Whether you try to put a positive spin on it or not, Can't do it. You know what I'm saying? You can't. There's no positive spin on that at all. I talked about how that affected my fandom for that franchise, my lifelong franchise that I followed um, six, seven, 6 or 7. So yeah, I mean, it's just a lot going on in terms of what's going on between the ears of the Bearded Wonder. Of course, this is Taking Notes with the Bearded Wonder, brought to you by the Black and Business Podcast. If you want to get in touch with Black and Business, real easy. You can jump on Facebook and just look up Black in Business. IG, Black_in Business on Instagram. Please give us a follow, like, share. And then now you can find us right here on YouTube. You want to punch us in, Black in Business Podcast. Should come up. Right now, we're just a generic B, but that's going to change soon. I got to get with the graphic artist and try to get myself a thumbnail for that. Um, and of course, in my Black in Business podcast, I usually say peace at the end of a live or at the end of a recording. I am not going to do that because this is different. This is taking notes. And I'm going to say something and I'm going to give you a quote. And this quote is very simple. And I'm probably going to end my shows every week with this from the great rapper. And I say that with air quotes, of course, the great rapper Joel Santana. Don't watch me, watch TV. It's been real, y'all. I holla.